Kyle McIntyre, president of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey. He's the commissioner of the Junior Hockey League. He's joining us now. Kyle, thanks for doing this. Welcome to the show. And can you walk us through, because when an announcement like this happens, there's obviously a lot that goes into this. When did this start, potentially the process of Notre Dame thinking of moving and then eventually in Warman?
Well, good afternoon, Mass. Really, there's a couple narratives that were going on simultaneously in the background, and so just bear with me, and I'll give you a bit of a history on it. So,
Sure.
Cole Catcher, who is part of the Warman ownership group, the new franchisee, he had approached the SJHL board about a year ago, and myself about a year ago, with an interest in having an expansion team as part of the SJHL. And of course, he made some overtures to the Board of Governors. And at the time that we received his application, we weren't necessarily interested in expanding the league. We felt we had 12 viable communities. We were compact. We were a little bit worried about expanding and diluting the talent pool. So we really weren't interested in entertaining an expansion franchise. At the same time, Notre Dame's president, Rob Palmerine, had retired. And they hired a new CEO, new president, Dr. Charles Skipper. And so from the board of directors from Notre Dame, Dr. Skipper was charged with doing a bit of an assessment of the current programming at Notre Dame Collegiate. And the board and Charles decided they wanted to take the school in a new direction. And they really want to make it a multi-sport academic residential school. And really, when they started to assess current programming, there wasn't really a place or a space for junior A hockey. Lots of things have happened over the years in terms of who is eligible to play junior hockey in Saskatchewan and in Canada. And so let's just say that the players who have been playing for the Notre Dame Hounds the last several years have had a very tenuous connection with the school. None of those kids attend school. They really weren't part of the school. And I think really when the board of directors and Dr. Skipper looked at it, I think they were really struggling with the player experience and really struggling with how 20 students out of 300 some students were gaining probably an inordinate amount of resources to operate a hockey team. As we know, running a junior hockey team is not a profitable endeavor. Probably takes about $800,000 a year to run a program and to do a good job of it with the player experience at the forefront. And so I think that the board of directors and Dr. Skipper were having some conversations. Cole was having some conversations, and probably in the last 3 months, the two parties kind of connected with one another and started to have some discussions. And then I was brought into it by Director of Hockey Development, Wade Klippenstein, and Dr. Skipper, and they started asking a bunch of questions about the SJHL and viability of the team and what were some options for the team. And so my role was to give them some information. And I think ultimately the Board of Governors decided that they were not planning on operating in the SJHL for the 25-26 season. And so then they connected with Cole and John, the group representing Warman. They started to have some conversations. They started talking about transferring the franchise, assuming debt, and purchasing the franchise. And then that information was taken back to our Board of Governors probably in early February, and we had a lengthy discussion about Notre Dame's future and about the potential to go to Warman. And certainly the governors had some conditions for that relocation to be approved. And some of those conditions are still going to have to be met. But probably one of the biggest ones is going to be approval from City Council and the City of Warman. So I think ideally it's bittersweet for us. Anytime you lose a historical franchise of over 38 years with such a rich history and a rich array of people that have gone through the program, it's certainly bittersweet. And I don't want anyone thinking that the SJHL forced this. I mean, certainly we want what's best for our players and really respect any decisions that were made by the college and the board of directors and kind of understand where they're going in terms of their new vision for the school and some of the program choices. And certainly I think it was just fortuitous or serendipity that both the Warman Group and the Notre Dame got together. And the way that we would see it, Maz, it's a win-win-win. It's a win for the College of Notre Dame. It's a win for the community of Warman, and it's a win for the SJHL.
Kyle McIntyre, commissioner of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, joining us on the SportsCage here on the Western Pizza guest hotline. You mentioned the rich tradition of Notre Dame, not only for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, but for just hockey in general. Do you ever think there will ever be another team, institution, school, whatever you want to call it, that will ever rival what they've been able to do as far as putting players into the pros?
Well, back in the day when I played AAA midget, when it was called midget in Saskatchewan, I mean, it was kind of a who's who of hockey that played with that program, like both Courtnall brothers, Grant Jennings, Wendell Clark. I mean, certainly had a strong pedigree and a strong stable of players. And really back probably 40 years ago, St. Mary Shattuck, Notre Dame Collegiate, and St. Michael's out of the East were really the only three schools that offered a residential hockey experience. And now the landscape in hockey has changed so much in the last 10 or 15 years. There's hockey academies everywhere. And I think that probably for a while, Notre Dame were going to try to be a hockey academy and maybe got away from some of the stuff they did traditionally, because as long as I've known about Notre Dame or been associated with Notre Dame, it was always a multi-sport school that encouraged all of its students to play multiple sports in the different sporting seasons. And so I almost feel like, I don't want to speak for the board, but I almost feel like that's what they want to get back to again. They want to get back to, having a residential school, maybe focusing on international kids, offering those kids a multi-sport experience. And can't say I disagree with that. When you think about it, if I'm a steward, if I'm a board, and I'm looking at a finite amount of resources for a program, and I see that one particular program is using an inordinate amount of resources, I'm probably making a decision where I can deploy those resources for the majority of kids. And so I think really that was kind of the rationale. But, you think about Notre Dame, you think about the 1988 team, won the Anavet Cup. They won the Centennial Cup. They had Curtis Joseph. They had Rod Brindamore. They had Barry McKenzie at the helm. And then you think of some of the other players that have gone through the program. Brad Richards played in the SJHL. Jaden Swartz played in the SJHL. So they've had a lot of boys and girls who have gone through that program, who have gone on to very successful careers outside of hockey. And so I do think that it's an exciting future for Notre Dame. And I still think that they're going to have a positive impact on kids and on sport and on the province. And their legacy is one that we're certainly going to try to acknowledge as a league, probably for the remainder of this season and probably culminating with their last game at the end of March.
Before we move on to Warman, I have some questions about that. What has been the reaction since the announcement today, just for you personally? Because I'm assuming people are calling and texting, and maybe to hockey insiders, this was known information. But for a lot of us today, this announcement is a bit of a shock that a pillar in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League is moving, and that pillar is Notre Dame.
Yeah. For me personally, it's been a really busy day, Maz. Lots of emails, lots of texts, lots of media requests. And again, you know what? We're being full transparency here. I mean, this has been probably conversations have been occurring for about the last 3 months about this. But when we started this season, it was not even a remote possibility. Like, we always assumed that Notre Dame was solvent and they were going to continue to offer a full slate of hockey, including Junior A. And so again, we just kind of got involved in it and kind of reacted and started to have some conversations and became pretty clear that the college and the board of directors wanted to move a different direction. And at that point, we just kind of connected the parties and they started to have some discussions. And so I think it is truly bittersweet. I mean, I know a lot of the alumni or a lot of young men who went through that program certainly will have very positive experiences and memories and friendships from teammates that they made over the years. I think for people that are in the hockey world, I think they say, well, you know what, shocking, but not surprising, given some of the things that have been occurring in hockey. And I mean, let's be honest, like, Warman is probably, it was Canada's fastest growing community from about 2016 to 2019. It is Saskatchewan's fastest growing community. They have a state-of-the-art facility. They have one of the largest minor hockey programs in Saskatchewan. A number of kids from that area are playing currently in both the Western Hockey League and the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. So really, it's a hotbed, and I think that the community is ready to embrace SJHL hockey.
So you'd mentioned city councils got to vote, and city councils do what city councils do. Tell us about hockey. What is the rink like? What's the capacity? How new is it? Like, what are the players potentially in the facilities that they're going to be stepping into there as far as what Warman has to offer?
Yeah, so the facility it's a very nice facility. It probably seats almost 1,800 fans in its present state. Has seats on both sides. It is a multi-sport complex, and so not only do they have a hockey rink, they have full indoor gymnasiums for soccer and basketball and volleyball. It's connected to a school. The city of Warman is currently building another rink on the other end of it. Like it's a world-class facility. We've been holding our SJHL showcase there for about the last 6 or 7 years, and we always have an incredible turnout. We have lots of interest, lots of supports when we go to Warman, and it would be among probably the nicest facilities in our league if they come on board, like we think they might. And the kids are going to get an incredible player experience. Not only is it a vibrant community, but it's a community where people are passionate about hockey. And I know that the young men who will be going to Warman are going to be positive ambassadors for the team and good role models for boys and girls. And it's going to be a real win-win. It's going to be a great experience. Like it's a beautiful facility. It's a great little community. There's lots of stuff going. There's a real positive hum or vibe in Warman. And so I really think this is going to be a really solid and long-lasting marriage.
Before we get to, I want to ask you about the league and what's going on this year. Will there be a name change once they move to Warman?
Well, I mean, that's to be determined. I would assume there's probably going to be. I mean, that's going to be up to the new owners in the community. I know that they've thrown about a couple monikers, but I don't think they've landed on any. But I mean, we're going to really try to do a good job of identifying and recognizing the rich traditions of the Notre Dame Hounds that the new co-founders will also well. So we're not going to forget where they came from, but I think that for the purposes of the rebranding, I think they're probably going to be either a Wildcat or a Wolverine or something to that extent.
All right. How proud are you of the product that you and a whole group of people have put on the ice this year in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League? I'm trying to remember. This is some of the best hockey that has been played in a long time. What from where you sit in your perspective, what's your takeaway?
Well, boy, what parity. I mean, we always say we have lots of parity in the league, but I don't know if we've seen it any closer this year, Maz, than we've ever seen it. And so Melfort, of course, the reigning Cantera Seeds Cups, they're in first place champions. They've had a great year. They're off to a great run. Flin Flon got off to a slow start. They're right on their heels. At one point, they had 22 games without a loss in regulation time. So they're super hot. Yorkton, they got a super good team. Like they probably have the most goals of any team in our league. And then you got Weyburn that's sitting in the 3 spot right now, and they got a real wagon that is probably one of the fastest teams in the league. So those top 4 teams are solidly entrenched. And then from 5 to 10, it is an absolute dogfight. Probably less than 10 games left, 8 or 9 games left. All those games are 4-point games. Anyone can win on any given night. And so it's going to be super interesting down the stretch just to see where everyone finishes. I think we might see some good traditional geographic rivalries in the first round. Like if Yorkton Melville finished at 4-5, like what an epic battle that'll be for Highway 10. I think that's going to be super exciting. And again, I'm not saying that no one is crowning Melfort or Flin Flon champions. I think there's lots of teams in that top 10 that have the ability to win or have the ability to upset one of those teams. So from a commissioner standpoint, from a board of governors standpoint, from a fan standpoint, the hockey is unbelievable. It's super competitive. It's fast. It's fun to watch. If you're a coach, you probably have as much hair as you and I have. It's probably super frustrating, It's crazy. I mean, doesn't matter what you do. I mean, every night it's a battle, and anyone can win at any given night.
I think the gentleman, the Flin Flon Bombers play-by-play guy, I believe his name is Rob Hart. He said he's done over 1,000 games, and he said a bus ride from Flin Flon to Estevan is 11 hours. I would love to. How many kilometers so far have you put on this season?
Well, this year I've probably put on close to 30, Maz. Typically, by the time playoffs play out, probably somewhere between 45 and 60. Last year I put on close to 60, and probably near the end I had a lot of trips to Flin Flon that I did not anticipate. We had some league awards winners with Flin Flon near the end of the year. I kind of thought I'd be there maybe for one round of playoffs, and then lo and behold, they're in the final. And so Jacob Faith, my director of marketing, and I put a lot of windshield time in last year, and a lot of it going to Flin Flon. But, I mean, that's part of the fun of it. I mean, I'm trying to get Barney to go up there because he has never been to Flin Flon. And the rink itself, it's part cathedral, it's part museum, it's part madhouse. It's probably one of those rinks in junior hockey that you just have to be in playoffs. Like, it really epitomizes small town Canadian playoff junior A hockey. Like, it's absolutely incredible. It's a shrine. Great to be there. But I think this year, any of the teams that are in the hunt, our attendance has been awesome. We're probably averaging between 800 and 900 people in most of our rinks. Some of our rinks, like Yorkton's averaging 1,200 fans a game. Melville is around 1,100 a game. Humboldt is around 1,100 a game. Melfort about 900. Flin Flon 900. So some of those teams that are in the upper echelon, you know, when playoff time comes, they're going to be packed houses, and people are going to be supporting their teams.
I know, it's like it is. If Yorkton and Melville end up playing in the first round, it's kind of like you're going into enemy territory, you know, to fly the flag and support the colors and to do all that. And you're hoping A, your team wins, and B, somebody from the team you're cheering for wins the 50-50. That's how you get even with the other team, is you go in and you win the game and you win their 50-50.
What's really going to be interesting is what is Benny Walchuk going to do? Like, I know. He's got divided allegiance, but I think I know when push comes to shove who he's supporting. And so it'll be really interesting to see whether he actually wears his heart on his sleeve.
Well, we've got Benny coming up in about an hour's time. So that's going to be my very first question. All right, before we go any further, Benny, you got to tell us who you're cheering for personally here out of this debate. And there's no winners when he gives the answer. There are no winners when he gives that answer. We can just let him tap dance. Kyle, we appreciate the time. It's an incredibly busy day. I'm sure you have more interviews to get to here. It's Kyle McIntyre, the commissioner of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League.